Welcome to Country Fried and Certified. I'm Stephanie, and I get to flip the mic and ask the man behind the music the questions we've all been wanting to know. So, Be Ill, are you ready?
As ready as I'm gonna get.
Let's start at the beginning. Who is Be Ill, and who were you before the music?
Who is Be Ill? You know, I've been asked that question a lot. I kind of say that Be Ill is who I always wanted to be, somebody that had a voice. So many times in life, I felt like I wasn't heard. It started out when I was a kid, being the baby. I didn't always feel like I was heard, but you know, going into school systems and everything else, I was a smaller kid, so I got bullied, and you just try to figure out somebody different on who you are. And somehow another BO kind of stuck when we came up with this whole thing about a year ago. And the second part of that question, I believe, was what was that again?
Who were you before the music?
Before the music, man. Before the music, I was a father, a husband, and somebody that kept a lot inside. Didn't really want to let it all out, let somebody see a different side of me. And the music has actually opened up a lot of doors to allow, I think, the true me come out.
You said your songs are like open wounds, raw, honest, and real. Why did you choose that kind of vulnerability in your music?
You know, I ask myself that question every time I try to write some of these. You know, with the music that's out there today, I just don't feel like it's real. I mean, people come up with different things. It doesn't even sound like music. So I wanted to take it back and put the music out there the way it should be. It's a story that's being told. I mean, so many times in our lives, we're headed down a path, we don't know where we're going, and we don't know what's on the other side. And so in my music, I really want it to be to where you feel it, you understand it, and it can be a driving force for you as well. There's healing in music, and it's been, you know, done through time. So I think part of the reason why I did it this way was, number one, it helps me get the inner me out. And if it can help somebody else along the way do the same thing, then more power to it. I mean, that's what the music is supposed to do anyway. It's supposed to help others. And so I know some people write music just for it to feel good, but I believe it's something that we need. It's a connection. And I think that that's what I'm doing with my songs right now at this moment is getting a connection to some of my fans out there that they can relate to it. So I think that's where I'm at.
Okay. What moment in your life made you say, I want to write music? And why now at the age of 55?
You know, it's kind of a funny question because I've been asked that, and I've been looked at as the underdog because they say I'm too old for this. You know, I would have to take it back. I mean, I would go all the way back to 32 years ago. 32 years ago, I was working in a rehab hospital, and I had a lady that she said I had a great voice, but I tried to be like too many other voices. And she said to find your own voice, and I didn't understand what that meant at the time. And then, you know, life happened. I found the love of my life. I got married and had kids, and you know, you just put everything on hold. But I guess it was about 4 years ago, I started having some stomach pains. And it was a situation where I was trying to figure out exactly what was going on, and my daughter was getting ready to get married and everything else. And I had just had a surgery. And so I didn't quite understand what was going on with this pain that was in my stomach. And Of course, I don't want to tell my wife because she's a nurse. She's going to make me do all these crazy things. And I ended up going to a different kind of doctor and was told that I had stage 2B stomach cancer. And at that point, he said that I needed to have chemo and all these other things. And I didn't agree with that. I'd seen what had happened in some of my family's life that had gone through some of those treatments, and I didn't want to be part of that. Well, I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, which you're very well aware of, and I didn't tell anybody in the house. I went to this specialist from a different country and went on a really high doses of these other meds, and 6 weeks later went in and did all my blood work and was cancer free. But during that time, I felt like I needed to leave something behind, and I wrote the very first real song for my wife, but I had somebody else sing it because I didn't feel like I had a voice. So I guess now at 55 years old, when people ask me that question, why now? Why not? If you look death straight in the face and you beat it once, then why not try to defeat all the odds and defy them all? So, why not at 55?
You walked away from your dreams once. What made you come back?
Ooh, you know what? I wouldn't say I really walked away from my dreams, because being a father and a husband was always a dream of mine. It's something, I think everybody wants to do. But I laid everything down because I felt like everybody else's life was more important. I wanted to make sure my wife had the career that she wanted to have. I tried to be there for my kids. I wasn't always there. I didn't always do the things I should have done. But, man, to be honest, I was sitting in church and there was just this feeling that came over me, and it was like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I didn't really know what that was at the time, and my Pastor Brad, kept preaching, and it was like a stinking gnat just right there in my ear, and it kept going, and it was like, do music. And so I know I broke down and cried right then and looked over at my wife and said, hey, I'm supposed to do music. And what do you do when you have something like that just keeps nagging at you? You kind of have to give in. And that night I went home, and I believe I wrote 6 songs. And at that point I knew that that's what I was supposed to be doing, is writing. But then it got a little bit crazier, because a few weeks later, not only was I writing these songs, but now it was like there was this feeling saying that I was supposed to be singing. And I wasn't real sure about that, because the last time I sang had been 32 years earlier, and it didn't go so well. My wife and I were on stage, and she was pregnant at the time. And she had a moment to where she lost it because she was pregnant, and I had to jump in and do her part instead of doing mine. And I absolutely hated the way that I sounded, and I didn't ever want to sing again. So I got off stage, and so to do it now, it's not, I can't really say it's something that I wanted to do. I felt like it was a calling on something that I'm supposed to do. So I think that's the best reason I can give you right now.
Some people sing to be famous. You say you sing to be heard. What do you hope people hear when they listen to your songs?
When people hear my songs, one of the things that I hope that they hear is truth and honesty and that rawness. In the world that we live in right now, everybody is out there. They're all painting a picture of who they're not. You can go onto Facebook, you can go onto all their different sites. Everybody's hiding behind a mask, and nothing is really real. Somewhere along the line, we lost track of what's real. And so my music, that's what I want people to hear. I want people to hear that truth, the reality that everything ain't perfect, that we all have issues, we all have struggles, we're all going to go through love, and we're going to go through loss, we're going to go through anger, we're going to go through, all these different feelings. But when you know somebody else out there has gone through the same thing that you're going through, it makes it just a little bit easier to make it through.
What is one song that still makes you emotional every time you sing it or hear it?
Oh man, I was hoping I wasn't going to have a question like this. That's got to be Letter to Mama. I'll tell you how that story came about, how that song came about. I was sitting there and I was writing one day, and this song popped into my head, and as I was sitting there and I was going through it, I was really proud of it. And so it was just instinct, My mama was always there for me. She always believed in me when nobody else did. She always wanted me to strive to be the best me that I could be. And I wanted her to hear that song that I was just so proud of. And all of a sudden, it hit me as I was texting her that she wasn't here anymore. So it was instantly, Letter to Mama came into my head, because she was more than a mama. She was my best friend. Next question.
Tell me about the first time someone messaged you and said your music helped them through something dark. And what did that mean to you?
Man, I can tell you, I've actually had it happen a couple of times. And to me, it's like the greatest thing ever. It's like a gift. You open it up and you just get to see this other side, because you hope that what you're doing is making a difference. And I never will forget when I actually got the first text, because it was a situation to where it's a close friend of mine, and she sent me a message and told me that her daughter had been going through some stuff. And when she heard this song, which she doesn't even like country music, and she heard the song, it made her feel something in a good way. So with that being said, it was like you realize that you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because if one person felt it, that's all that mattered to me. But it's one of those things to where even more people have felt something. So to answer that question, it's probably one of the greatest feelings in the world. And I cried, because there was joy and sadness at the same time, because I knew what they were going through. Because I remember what it was like. I remember growing up and wanting to be like everybody else, because most people don't know this part of the story, but because I didn't want to read out loud, I got stuck in special ed classes until I was in the 6th grade. I had a teacher that believed in me, Mrs. Brown, and she believed in me, and she got me out of those classes. And it was kind of amazing because from that moment, I had felt like I was lost in the school system. And then, 2 years later, I was in honors classes. So, I can relate to how a lot of those people feel like they're alone and feel like they're distanced and they're shunned and have that deep hurt inside and can't find their way, feel lost. So.
You have written about pain, heartbreak, and even mental health struggles. Was there ever a song that was too hard for you to finish?
I have a ton of them that aren't finished. I don't even have names for them, to be honest with you. Some of them are super personal, and some of them aren't even about me. They're about the people around me, because I saw the pain that they went through. I mean, even with everything that you've gone through, just how hard it is sometimes for you to put your words down. And so, I think the biggest thing is this year I wrote "Don't Let Go," and that was a hard song to write. It took me to a very deep, dark place, and I never will forget the day that I wrote it, because I wrote it, and as I wrote it, I knew it would have meaning, and I knew that it would touch people, but I didn't really understand it all until it was done. And when I listened back to it, man, I was in awe of that song, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, there's so many people out there that get so close to the end, that depression has sucked them in so far, that where do they go? And the one thing that I could think of was, just don't let go. I sent you that song that day as soon as I got done. And I told you, hey, look, I'm in a super dark place. This is where I was told I had to go to so that I could get this. I don't want you to text me. I don't want you to call me. Just leave me alone. I'll be okay. I'm working through it. God's got my back. I'm not in that place. I just had to go there real quick so that I could put this down on paper. So I think sometimes, I don't know if other writers do that, but that's what I do. I literally try to put myself in that situation so I can feel it, so I can taste it, and I can relate to it. That way the song has more meaning. And Don't Let Go is a very hard personal song, because it wasn't just written for me, it was written for you as well, and for a lot of other people out there. So
Okay, now let's talk about the name Be Ill. Why the underscore, and what does it mean to you?
Every time I do an interview, somebody asks me about why Be Ill. You know what? Maybe I should have stuck with the way we had it before, but it's kind of funny. They asked that question, I say, because Will.i.am was already taken. And we were joking one day, and I said, you know what? I'm going to come up with a name like Will.i.am. My name's William, so why not? I said, Be Ill, why? And you laughed, and you thought it sounded stupid, and you told me I should just leave the Y off, and I said, okay, I'm cool with that. Just be ill. And then it kind of stuck. And then somebody asked me, why be ill? And I said, well, you have to think about the word ill. It's not just meaning of sick. It's a slang word that's out there as well that can mean, something like dope, rad, all these other things that are out there. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? What kind of a logo is that when you think about it? Be ill. Be the sickest you that you can be. Because if you take ill in the terminology that's out there, that means don't be yourself. Be more than yourself. Be the coolest, dopest, the most rad person that you can be. And so with that motto, I kind of took that on my name, and that's where my songs come from. I try to be the sickest me that I can be when I write.
If people could only listen to one song, which one would it be and why?
You know, that's a big one right there. Because I can't think of just one song, but there's one song that resonates with me the most, and it's because it was my anthem for so long, and that's Why Me. You know, growing up, it was Why Me, and then, you know, once I got married, you decided you wanted to take your career a different way, and I had to turn and go the other way, and it became a Why Me. And in that song, it talks about, you know, the struggles of life. It seems like every time there was a door open, it slammed shut in front of me. But instead of it being like that, I didn't think about it as, you know, it was setting me up for where I would be at later in life. And we all go through it. You know, we all go through that why me, why me, why me, instead of why not. I absolutely love that song. And it is one of my favorites. But, you know, I've got some new stuff out now that nobody has heard yet. Been working on it. And there's one song that I think if you asked me that question again, it would probably be my newest song that's out, or that's getting ready to come out. And it's because of the fact it shows a different perspective of, instead of why me, it shows where we're at and how we can all be alive. And so right now, I'm going to do something that I still don't feel like I'm completely ready for, but I think it's probably time that I go ahead and try to do this. So, baby, why don't you take and go over and we'll see if I can make it through this new song and this new sound and see if it's something that people like. And I can take and get this stuff set up. We're doing this inside, so I'm going to have to use my dealers because we're going to have a ton of echo. How does it sound over there? Are we getting good volume?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Go ahead.
Dust on my boots, silence in the air. Nothing but shadows, nobody there. Cracks in the earth, storms in my mind. You walked in, the sky came alive. Rain falls soft, grass turns green, flowers bloom where pain has been. You didn't just find me, you gave me life. I was barely breathing, now I'm alive. Oh, I'm alive. Locked in my chest, peace gone still. voice I buried, fire you filled. Look through the dark, set me free. Not a broken man, a wild heartbeat. Rain falls soft, grass turns green, flowers bloom where pain had been. You didn't just find me, you gave me life. I was barely breathing, now I'm alive. Oh, I'm alive. No more ghosts, no more chains. Your hand pouring rain. Stars show up where I used to hide. Love runs deep where I once died. You didn't just hold me, you brought me life. I was barely breathing, now I'm alive.
Oh. Well, hopefully you guys like that. Hopefully you do. You hopefully like the new sound. It's one of those things to where I'm still trying to find it exactly the sound that I want, but I think that's I think that's where I want to be at right now. So, I think you had one more question for me, didn't you?
Actually, I think that was it. Just before we wrap up this first episode, oh yes, why should someone stop scrolling, click play, and give Bill a real chance?
You know what? If you've ever fought for the underdog or were ever an underdog, that's a good reason to click. Because I was told I was too old, that maybe I should just take and write songs and let somebody else sing them. But I just feel like there's more to it. I feel like I still got something left to give out there. But that truth and that rawness, man, I've been there. And if you've been there too, you'll feel them in my songs. So go ahead and click it, listen, follow me on Spotify, B_ILL. The latest album is Ashes to Echoes, and you can always find us on billmusic.net, but on that one, it is just billmusic.net. You can go on there, you can see what we've got going on, and we've got a lot of cool things coming up. But I look forward to the next show because we're going to do a little bit more, and I feel a little bit more comfortable now singing in front of you guys. So the next time, I think I'll probably give you 2 of the new songs again, different ones, and one of the old ones. Thanks a lot, man. Glad you tuned in.